Hey,
What's going on, man?
hopefully it doesn't really say it's scheduled for tomorrow, does it? That's not good.
Uh, it did for me.
Great. Well, we'll see who joins.
Uh, if not, we'll record some stuff. How you been? What's up?
Oh man, busy. I wanted to get here earlier, but here I am.
Yeah, it's all good. Let's see. People joining. I see some good Nexel people. Hi,
Nice.
y'all. What's going on? Good to see you both. Um, yeah,
Oh
I
man.
guess let's give it. Looks like somebody else is joining. Cool.
Yeah, we'll give people like 2 or 3 minutes to join, and then I'll just toss it over to you.
All right. Let's see if I can share my screen and stuff. Okay, so I can share my screen. Okay, let's see. It says that I can't share my background. Let's see why. Open system settings. All right, give me a second until I open this. All right. I'm gonna jump back in because I gotta restart Zoom. I'll be back in a couple seconds.
Okay.
Okay, let's see if I can share now, and then I think we'll get started maybe in 2 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, it's good to be with the Hey Council community. Um, finally putting some stuff together. It's been a minute. Brian and I met each other what, like 2 years ago, maybe,
Yeah,
at
that's
TLTF.
That's a little crazy. Yeah, I guess a year and a half ago. Is that right? It was December
It was
2023.
December. Yeah, exactly.
I'm pinging the group just to get some. I know there's some people who will be joining. Um, but yeah, excited to have you on. I can do a brief intro. I feel like let's just roll with it and people will join. We're gonna record this. Should I record it on? Let me just do like a proper recording.
Okay.
Um, however it is done on Zoom. Oh, there it is. Big record button. Recorded the. All right. So yeah, Ben and I met about a year and a half ago. Ben is a unique blend of a lawyer, a real one, and also a legal tech founder, and a successful one, which is those are two things to do, two hard things to do, let alone do them both. We hit it off. Ben has like just a wealth of knowledge on so many different types of topics, but has really kind of learned the ins and outs of getting lawyers to get out of their shell and be
Mm,
more of salespeople, trusted advisors, which we're talking about, really like emphasizing the lawyer-client relationship. And so we always have good conversations when we talk. We have a lot of alignment on certain things. But really, yeah, I just wanted to let Ben do his thing and
mm.
share some of his expertise. So I will get out of the way and toss it over to you. But really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks, man. And it's really good to meet this Hey Council community. I always when I first met Brian, I told him two stories. The first was I don't even know if you remember this. I said, if I was still practicing it's so abundantly clear that I would be practicing within the context of something like a community, a strong community where people are basically sharing best practices. And it's fantastic to see. I really do think that the future of practice has always been the solo boutique practice. And today, that the scale and sort of the potential, not only across technology, but just because of community and relationships and connectivity, I think it's just so fantastic. So this is exactly where I would be had I not been practicing. There's no way that I would have been in Big Law. Nothing for Big Law. They certainly provide an incredible service as well, but small law and boutique law and this kind of like scaled community is incredible. And then the second was I told Brian, this idea of at least early referrals and community, that was one of the original ideas of Nexel. I'll get into Nexel. You guys can look up my LinkedIn and what we do today and the value proposition. It has to do a little bit with what we're doing, but it's much bigger. But this was one of the original ideas, referral management and sort of a referral community. Do you remember this? Do you remember the conversation that we had? And like, and I like, it was fantastic in terms of and it's just great, and it's awesome to see. We went a different path, but it's so great to see somebody like Brian still sort of bringing it together. It really takes a lot more than technology just to kind of mediate these relationships and keep things going. It takes somebody with like a lot of heart and a lot of character and a lot of just like wanting to do it to keep it going, and goodwill and trust within the relationship as well, within the network as well. So kudos to all of you guys on the call as well. But I'll go ahead and get started. I'm only going to talk for like 10 minutes because we only have 30 minutes. And quite frankly, I'd love to just like get some questions from the community in terms of the substance that I talk about. I'm not really going to say anything revolutionary. I'm just going to kind of repoint the lawyers and the community back to something that I think you all know, but I'm just going to point it out, I think, in a little bit of in a different way. And I'll get into what that is. But at the end, I'd love to just talk to you guys and hear, what are the pains and sort of the promises that you guys are thinking about, and just get to know you guys as well. I don't really want to talk the entire time. So I'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. Brian, maybe you can tell me if you can see my screen. Just 1 second. Let me get to the right thing real quick. Okay, here we go. All right, share. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, nice, beautiful. Okay, so I am going to go full screen so you guys can see. Okay, and here we go. Let me make sure that this is working. Okay, here we go. All right. So let's put a countdown. I'm gonna talk for about 10-15 minutes, and then let's open it up. If you guys have any questions, just ping it in the chat as I'm going through. At the end, I'll try my best to answer all of it. But again, I'd like to ask you guys questions as well about how this resonated with you, and whether or not this resonates with what you're doing. So what we're going to be talking about is the idea of from lawyer to trusted advisor, using relationship intelligence. Effectively, the entire talk is one takeaway, which is relationship intelligence, and I'll go ahead and define that, is a lever today that you can pull as you move from lawyer to trusted advisor. I'm going to define it. I'm going to define what you can do with it and how it helps you. And then specifically, some questions, some ways that you can apply it and sort of get started. But I'm going to start with a story. Maybe the people from Nexel know, maybe are chuckling. So I start everything with a story. I studied biology in college, and I took a neuroscience class, and it was the power of storytelling on the brain. And basically, what the whole takeaway was, stories are how the brain understands facts. I then went on and applied that as a litigator, and today, growing a company and all of that kind of stuff. It's a lot about stories and providing a narrative. So I'm going to tell a story of two of the most famous lawyers in popular culture today. On the left, Ally McBeal for all my Gen X people, and on the right, Harvey Specter for maybe more of the millennials in the group. Now, if you remember Ally and Harvey's backgrounds, Ally and Harvey were very similar lawyers. On one hand, at least on a credential basis, they both went to great schools. They both practiced at the top of their license. They both had the experience and the wherewithal after time to really deliver great practice and end results for their clients as it relates to the practice of law and the delivery of legal services. But there's a difference between Ally and Harvey. Ally is a trusted advisor for her clients, and then more importantly, which is part of the pointing out that I'm going to do, and maybe the frame expansion that I'm going to do, is being a trusted advisor not only for your clients, but for the industry that you practice in, or the practice type area that you practice in as well. So Ally has a secret that she uses that Harvey doesn't have. Now, what is that secret? Well, you guys are all smart on the call. Of course, it's relationship intelligence. See, Ally has access to relationship intelligence in a way that Harvey doesn't. And she uses that to really not only become a trusted advisor to her clients, but also a trusted advisor to the industry. That results in more referrals, higher value clients, and just access to better deals, and just more access in general into the industry, allowing her to build her career, her practice, and of course, provide even better services at the end of the day to her actual clients. So I want to take a step back. Becoming a trusted advisor has always been important in law firms. I mean, all of us who went through law school and went into law firms, eventually this idea of getting to the top of the mountain, becoming a trusted advisor was kind of like the thing, right? After partner, there was another mountain to climb, which was this idea of becoming a trusted advisor to your clients. This is in some ways what a lot of us aspired to do. And I think a lot of us, myself included, were told at the time that trusted advisor meant delivering great legal services and a great work product to your client. So what did that mean specifically? Of course, it had to be a great transaction. It had to be great work product as it relates to research, as it relates to contract, whatever it was. It had to be delivered. It had to be a great product. It also had to be delivered in a right way. And over the last 10 years, we've heard a lot about client service and client centricity, and really just being there for your client throughout the client journey. I agree that all of that is incredibly important. What I'm going to argue and sort of make the case is that today, that sort of product is table stakes, and it's becoming ever more commoditized. Now, commoditization sometimes can get under people's skin, and to think that what you deliver is commoditized is a contentious way to say things. I only mean it in the way of saying that the delivery of services can be sort of produced today, of course, with new technologies. It can be produced in a way that is sort of it's being created in a way that's predictable, and it can come out. Lots of lawyers today are going to deliver great work product in a good experience, and it's going to be delivered increasingly quicker and quicker as it were. And so we're in a shifting landscape. So what does that leave, I think, today, whenever we think about, well, the work product is always going to be the work product. You're going to have to deliver work product, and it's always going to be great. And it's increasingly probably going to be even better for everybody on this call because of the access to technologies that are going to continue to get better and better. What I'm arguing is that what might be left today as a distinguishing factor is going to be the quality of your relationship with your client, and specifically whether or not you can become a trusted advisor to not only your clients but also to your industry in general. And I'm going to keep on coming back to this idea of industry because I think it's really it's important and it's doable today. Of course, time is never on our side, right? Between juggling the needs of most clients, delivering that great work product, and making sure that it's delivered in a way that aligns with the needs of the client that you're delivering to is not easy. And of course, there's time constraints we're always racing against on top of our lives and just how we want to design our practice and work today. So this is where the idea of relationship intelligence is going to come in because yes, you need to deliver a great work product. And if you want to become a trusted advisor, which I think is the advantage today for lawyers to distinguish themselves, they have to do something like business development, client development, and really doing that work against the pressures of time. So how would you do that? So here's the first big takeaway. Relationship intelligence will allow you to know who you should spend time with, developing relationships, doing client development, eventually trying to become a trusted advisor to those people. Now, the question is how? But I want to stop there real quick and just kind of hover over the first insight, which is we all want to become trusted advisors, but in the pressures of day-to-day work, delivering that work and juggling multiple clients, it can be very hard and time-consuming to get to that trusted advisor level. What you need is a signal amongst all of the clients that you're juggling, and even more so, all of your entire network that you might have access to sort of start to say, where should I put this very small time that I have? Where should I start to be paying attention to it? And this is the idea of relationship intelligence. Data specifically about your relationships can help you start to understand where you should put some of your time, the very small, precious time that you have to kind of try to become a trusted advisor through relationship building, through client development, through just understanding what's going on with the industry. And those are the sort of takeaways that I think a trusted advisor, those are the levers, let's say, that a trusted advisor would be pulling. So I'm going to go through the data. The data is not the takeaway. The data is sort of just a way to give an example of what kind of data you can have access to when you have contact data, when you have relationship data. You don't have to memorize this. I'm going to explain how you can get access to it at the end. The point is that there's types of data that you can get that is called relationship intelligence that you can then start to pay attention to as it relates to where to put your time. Okay, so the first type is who knows who. People who have maybe used CRMs before, especially CRMs like Nextel, CRMs that are modern CRMs tend to have access to who knows who data. What this means is that it can map out your relationships and it can show you who else knows people that you would like to get in contact with, or introductions to. Let's say you work in a larger law firm and you want to get access or have an introduction to somebody that a colleague knows. Now, if you didn't know that colleague knows that person, you would never know to ask that person for an introduction to that colleague. This is an example of who knows who. You can, once you start mapping the relationships between people, you can start to ask for introductions to these different types of people. Okay, so that's kind of a first example of what we would call a relationship data point or a relationship intelligence point. The next might be relationship depth. Now, I know how often I speak to my wife. It's every single day, of course. But maybe you don't remember how often you spoke to your top 20 clients. Maybe you don't know what's the frequency with which you are speaking to clients that you've worked with 2 years ago, but who you maybe have not spoken with or spoken to, excuse me, over the last year. Relationship depth is kind of another data point, which you can think about as saying, okay, I have a relationship, but how good is that relationship? How deep is that relationship? Let's say, for example, you could even have a relationship depth not with an individual, but with an entire group of people. This might be something like a specific department within a company, the HR function, the marketing and sales function, the executive branch of a specific company. How deep is your relationship with that group of people? And let's say you provide services to one group, you might want to say, wow, I have good relationship depth with the HR function, but not as good with the employment or the immigration, let's say. Relationship depth is another data point that can help you get relationship intelligence with your clients. The last might be like cross-practice spider graphs. This just has to do with visualization and sort of seeing where your opportunities have been across different practice groups. Now, I'm increasing this in level of complexity just to show that these things they sort of sit on top of each other. So you can go from who knows who or regular contact data points to mapping that across entire groups to mapping that across multiple groups as it relates to many different departments. Again, the importance of this is not to memorize the type of data, just to point out that there is data. There's much more that you can do. Once you have access to relationship data and contact data, you can start to get intelligent about the quality of your relationships. And that's the big idea that I want to leave with the group with today. That relationship intelligence allows you to do more impactful client development, eventually becoming a trusted advisor in much less time because it provides you signal over the noise of just all of your contacts, all of your network. Ultimately, and this is the last slide, ultimately the takeaway for this, and for me, as I think about myself as a lawyer here, as technology increases to help lawyers deliver work product in a new way to clients, what I think will be the differentiating factor for all lawyers and the profession will be something that actually we've always had, which is the relationship between the client and ourselves. In some ways, we're coming back to the way that things always were, which is what is the quality and the depth of your relationship. The only thing that's changed is now technology allows you to be connected with many more people and even an entire industry, and to get data into what is your connectivity and what is your relationship with that entire industry. That's it. If you'd like to learn more, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I talk about relationship intelligence and just more generally sort of the evolution of legal culture and legal careers, how I went from lawyer into legal tech. And if you'd like to learn more about Nexel, you can scan one of those QR codes. We provide firms and lawyers with access to their relationship data and a lot more. Okay, that's it. I'm going to stop sharing. I'd love to have some questions. If there's no questions, happy to talk about things like what's the data that you need, how would I apply this? Happy to talk about like how lawyers are using relationship data in kind of like a practical way in their day-to-day, anything. So yeah, Brian, why don't you tee me up with the first question?
Happy to. I think the interesting thing to me would be when you do identify those people who you want to spend more time with. I mean, I guess to go back to your original kind of thesis, like the idea that legal work and knowledge in general can trend towards commoditize or becoming commoditized. And I don't think we're quite there yet with AI, but we can kind of see the writing on the wall that just work product alone is not a differentiator. I mean, it is, but not the only differentiator. And if we don't have to wait for sort of like robots to take over before we realize that the experience of sort of like that counseling, that's kind of where the differentiator is for many firms because there's a lot of competition out there. So you've pointed out like how you identify folks who it makes sense to speak with, um,
Hmm.
or continue to dive deep with. But once you identify those, time is limited at that point. What's next? Like
Yeah,
what do you do? What are the steps to really solidify that feeling that you yourself are more than just a lawyer and a work doer. You are a trusted
yeah.
advisor, like you said.
Totally. All right. I'm gonna give the biggest, most explosive, most obvious answer in the world, which is you will be in the top 10% of client development, business development, just moving into trusted advisor if you simply follow up with your clients on a regular basis. It's not revolutionary, but here at Nexel, we have and we know what people are doing and we see it in an anecdotal way. And what we see time after time after time is that people who follow up, who stay top of mind, and who genuinely try to both add value with every step, plus do it consistently, really start to bubble up into that trusted advisor. The
Yeah.
reason that people don't is because we all get stuck in the day to day of things. That's really the short answer. I could make it much more complicated, but that's really it, effectively.
One follow up there though, because you say follow up, follow up is the term, but what do you follow up with? Like,
Totally.
there's a difference,
Yes.
I think, between following up and saying, "Hey, just checking in," and following up in a meaningful way, not annoying people. I think all of us, it's easy to say and harder to do. Like everyone
Yeah.
has that advice. Follow up, be top of mind, but like there's an art to it, and some people are
Yeah.
bad at following up. Not that they don't, but that they do it in the wrong way, or they're afraid that they're going to annoy people, and so they don't do it. And I struggle with that, right? I'm running my own practice,
Yeah.
and I have a lot of people that I can reach out to that I'm nervous to reach out to because I don't want to annoy them too much. Too much annoyance is desperation. Desperation's a bad
Yeah.
signal. That's, I think, where the rubber meets the road is where I think a lot of us kind of lose our faith or direction in that concept
Yeah.
uh, of building that relationship.
Totally. Shaz, I see your hand up. I'm gonna get to you. I'm gonna give the smallest anecdote to this. I know that it's hard, guys. I really do. I've been there myself. Whenever I was transitioning from going practicing law into legal tech, obviously I had to pay my bills in some sense, and I wanted to get into legal tech. So basically, what I was trying to do is I I was practicing as a maritime litigator. Think about that in Miami. I was representing people on boats, you know what I mean? And I wanted to get into tech, into legal tech. What did I do? I tried to kind of develop this practice in the first year whenever I was transitioning. And what I was doing is I was reaching out to tech founders in legal tech, just trying to connect, just trying to understand. Now, these were cold people that I was reaching out to. Obviously, not only did I not even have experience practicing in tech, let alone any relationship with these people, think about how awkward it was just to try to reach out in that sense, because I had zero credibility, I had zero referrals, nobody knew me. What I basically did, and hopefully this resonates, but I'm happy to answer questions, is I just tried to learn everything about their industry and the problems that they were having outside of law. So I was trying to connect with them, not as a lawyer, but as a member of the legal tech community. I'll just say it again because it's really important. I didn't reach out to them about legal issues. I reached out to them about how was it going running your company, scaling your companies, hiring people, what are the trends you see? I was literally reaching out to them as if I worked within that industry, as if I was already a community. In other words, I almost was like, I'm also a legal tech founder. What problems would I be worried about? And this is what I sort of tried to reach out to them. And this is the form of that relationship. Ironically, I did this so much that I eventually got a first job in legal tech, not as a lawyer, and then eventually now all this other stuff. So that was how basically I got my first job in legal. Does that make sense, Brian? I mean, I think it's just a mindset shift in what you're trying to reach out to them about.
Mhm.
knowing that you're reaching out to them about their day and their world, and you're reaching out to them as a member of their community, as an equal in that regard, not necessarily as a lawyer. Lawyer comes second.
Mhm. That makes sense. Yeah, I want to get Shaz's question in because I know we're tight on time and I want to be conscious of that.
Keep it quick. Um, Really, it's the balance of reaching out, right, and being a trusted advisor. Part of that is people feeling like about the area that you're claiming to be
Mm,
able to advise on. And, you know, LinkedIn, people complain, has become like Facebook, where everyone's just a content
yeah,
creator all of a sudden.
yeah.
And I will agree, it has kind of gone off the rails to a degree in that way, but there's an understandable place for that. But then there's also the actual direct outreach of like individual outreach. And I'm just wondering if you have thoughts on, to your point earlier about like too much information and too much of you, but then not too much silence of like, what does that maybe a little bit look like? And if you're going
Yes.
to lean more into one or the other of being like a thought leader or a lot of
Mhm.
individual outreach, which way would you lean?
Yes, totally.
Sorry.
We'll all get a chuckle. Obviously, it depends, right? Obviously, it depends. Here's the real truth. I mean, I'll go back to my story. In that case, I was talking about like I was trying to get into legal tech. I thought the bridge would be doing work for legal tech companies. And so I didn't even know, come on, I didn't even know what that legal work was looking like, per se. What I was talking about was, hey, this is what I'm seeing in the legal tech world and what other people are doing. And I was creating content on LinkedIn about that. Whenever I would reach out one to one, it would be because there was something very important, very personalized, I think somebody put context in the chat, and I totally agree with that. It's like context, because these people are also producing content, and so you're reaching out to them about the context. But here's even like here's like the wild part about this. When you're putting out a little bit on LinkedIn with sharing your experience from your particular point of view, people will start to reach out to you. People will start to reach out to you. And so ironically, this like cold outreach, looking for context, reaching out, will start to balance with people will start to reach out to you as well. I've been there for everybody here. You feel like your particular expertise is within the context of a particular practice area as it relates to some industry. I get it. I totally get it. But there's also your point of view on the industry, and that's also valid, I think. For somebody who now is running a legal tech company, running a business, every extra perspective is really, really helpful, especially from smart people like lawyers, like professionals, et cetera, et cetera. You have something to say. It's just your individual perspective on this. So I hope that you guys leave with that.
Yeah, I'll just give one quick example. In my practice, I don't have like a list of 200 people who could potentially be clients. It's just not the nature of what I do. But I do have a short list, and it allowed me when there was an update. I think it was a privacy update, maybe like a year and a half ago, that related to some of the clients that I'd worked with. I think it was a New York specific privacy law update. And I sent a very kind of like personalized email to like five or six clients. And it immediately generated new work with one client. And the email wasn't fear mongering. It wasn't anything. It was just, hey, and lawyers do this, right? It's just client, client updates. You send them out and update to this law. You might want to think about it. But I just used it as an opportunity to do two things: update them on a law, and then also say, hey, how is everything? It's been a while since we last chatted. If you wanted to jump on a call just to go over some stuff, happy to do that, free of charge, whatever. And it was a personalized outreach. It wasn't just a update blast that either will go to someone's spam or they won't read because they see it's just a template. It was, hey, first name, something personal, and then the update. And I think, 1 out of 6 is to me a good conversion
Yeah.
rate. And in the event that I did have more, I could figure out more clients to email. I could figure out a way to still keep it personal because yes, it takes a little bit more time. Like good things that you do don't always scale. But it was I kind of used that as a way to be human and also useful at the same time. And probably that's the right balance there. And I try to do the same thing with my social posts too. I try to keep it human and balanced. So it's like I don't know. I definitely agree with this idea of really knowing the right tone to strike and doing it often and kind of getting in the reps to figure out what works and what doesn't. But definitely this idea of being a trusted advisor resonates with me.
Yeah. I love what you said. We'll wrap it up. And if you guys have any other questions, please DM me on LinkedIn. Please reach out. I want to connect with all of you. I want to just say I want to make one point, which is, the idea that it's like right place to the right people at the right time. Relationship intelligence can give you who's the right person, the right context. That's what we were just talking about in terms of this example that Brian just pointed out. These two things, and then doing them consistently, I can tell you right now will place you in the top 10% of what people are doing at this point in time, just after the last 10 years of what we're seeing and doing. So the bar is you can get there. You can get into the top 10%. The last thing, I just want to make a little bit of a meta point here as it relates to the entire community. You guys are all sort of building together, and it's a beautiful thing. Just imagine if all of you guys together sort of elevated this 10%. What you would do is you would have access to a much larger network that could basically sustain and start basically bringing in, creating a social graph of work and a social network of work. So all of this raising 10% would basically put everybody here in like the top 10%, and that would extend this reach and the depth of this community by a lot. So hopefully that's somewhat inspiring. And data is a small part of it. Yes, data can help you point you in the right direction, but to Brian's point, reaching out in the right context with the right message is really important at the same time. But the fruit is there, in terms of what I know that this community is trying to do, which is the freedom and kind of designing practices that really make sense with everybody's lives, and that really resonates with me.
I love that. Thanks for joining us, Ben. And yeah, hopefully we can dive a little deeper at some point in the future about this concept. And yeah, but really appreciate your time, and thanks everybody for joining. Sorry I went a few minutes over, but enjoy the next couple of days of the week. Finish strong, and we'll see you all soon.
See you, everybody. Take care.